Hello, Lizzie here. Today I'm going to show you a project. It's not a pattern as such, which is very, very different for me, and it's something that I've toyed with for a little while bringing to you because I wanted you to still enjoy the project. I think you will. It's something, as I said, quite different. So what we have today for you is oh so useful, and oh so useful is this. It's actually an ironing station, so you can open it up. You've got the Luminex fabric here, and you've got the padded fabric piece here. You can see I've used Halloween colours because we're in October 2022 and we're coming up to Halloween. You can use what you like, and I'm not using Halloween fabric for my sample I'm going to make for you today. But I just couldn't resist this fabric. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now then, this is padded, so it means that if you do put pieces of fabric on here, they kind of will stick, just because you're putting fabric on fabric, a bit like fuzzy felt, if any of you know what fuzzy felt is. The Luminex, of course, is perfect for your pressing, for your ironing. Maybe you're going to make some little blocks. The great thing about Oh So Useful is that, of course, you can take it to workshops. The other thing is it will fit an A4 size cutting mat. So if you wanted to, you could have your A4 size cutting mat. Either you could adhere it to the back, so I'm calling this the back. You could, if you wanted to, literally glue it down onto the back, or of course it will just slot into your it's kind of like a little project book really. It will just slot in there really quite nicely, and it will allow you to use either side, metric or imperial, on the mat as well, to actually use for cutting when you're at a workshop. So really it's going to cover all bases, but there is absolutely no sewing involved with this at all. It's really important I tell you that right from the get-go. This is not a sewing project. It's all about sticking and gluing and having some fun, but you've got the most amazing project at the end of it all. Now, for those guys in the UK, I am putting a kit together for the essential parts. You're going to get the A4 MDF pieces, you're going to get the Luminex, and you're going to get the Decaville, which gives you this like kind of book-like feeling with the project. So there will be a kit that's being put together for you if you wanted to have a go at making it, and hopefully it's of a price that you'll be able to afford and enjoy. So if we look on the overhead, this is what it looks like. So you can see how well an A4 cutting mat fits on there, and like I said, you can either just have it like that and use your rotary cutter on top of that, or of course instead of using the fabric inside like this, you can actually glue that down instead. I'll leave that for you to decide. You wouldn't want the wadding. There's 2 layers of wadding under each of these pieces, and you wouldn't need that. You would only need just to perhaps glue that down. You would still need a nice covering fabric on your pieces there, so the sides look beautiful, but you wouldn't want to have necessarily the wadding. It's just not essential. So I'm going to leave you to decide what you would want that side, but quite honestly, if you're cutting out patchwork, that will stick to that. It will, so once you lay your pieces down, it will stay. And it's a different method of ironing. You might not want to use this sort of Luminex, that's what it's called, for your pressing. You might decide that's not for you. This is about this project, and it is a project. It's all about choices. So this is Oh So Useful. So I'm going to take you right from the get-go. The main thing I would say to you is it's good to have this Pinflair glue. Now I just realised I've got a great big label stuck over the top of it, which I cannot get off. But it's called the Pinflair book binding glue, and let's see if I can get it off for you. And it's the perfect glue for this project. I really, really highly recommend it. If you haven't got any, do treat yourself, because it will come in handy for all sorts of other things as well. So the first thing we're going to do is to make up the 2 boards that go inside the actual Oh So Useful, and I've got 2 layers of wadding. So the first layer, we're just going to put a little bit of glue, just basting glue, to hold them together. And with this wadding, this batting, it will move, it will stretch out of shape because it's just fibres, but which means that we can trim this to size if we need to. What I suggest you do is cut a piece of wadding bigger than your A4. If you're in the States or anywhere other than the UK, letter size would be perfectly fine. Just adjust to your size. But you can use that as your template and literally use your 60mm rotary cutter and trim around the outside of that to get your A4. But at the end of the day, like I said, it will stretch out of shape. It's just the nature of it. So with the bookbinding glue, we're going to attach all of our pieces using the glue. You absolutely do not need very much, so please don't plaster this on. You just need a little touch around the outside edge. Please don't waste it. It's such precious glue because it's so good. Just use little bits. And then if you need to trim your wadding, once this is on, it's stuck fast. It's fantastic. So it means that you've got the ability to stick this down and then immediately trim, and it's not going to go anywhere. There we go, and just pop it down like that, give it a little tap, and then if we turn it over, you'll be able to see whether it's hanging over the edge. And when we do put the Luminex on there and the fabric, you can fold this, you know, these little tiny edges that might be sticking out, that it'll all encase itself in. It'll kind of fold over with the fabric. So with each of these pieces, they're all cut, so they're going to be bigger. The measurements are on the pattern, because there is a pattern, but it's just not how you normally would see. So you're going to have this piece all the way round, so we can get a good fold of our fabrics, either the Luminex or this. So what you want to do is just stick down one side. Again, you absolutely do not need a lot of this glue. It is incredible. I mean, I think I've had this pot, well, probably close to 5 years. And just bring it over and pull it so it's nice and tight. And now that has stuck, so I don't need to worry about that. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to get our corners here just right. So you're going to fold it in. You're going to make sure that it's nice and snug in that corner. Pull it if you need to, get it nice and tight. And then you're just going to fold your Luminex like that, almost like if you're doing a binding. And again, all you're going to do is glue. So I'm going to glue part way. I'm going to glue on the Luminex as well, so I know I'm going to catch it all. And then you're just going to lift it up, so you can see how that looks. It doesn't matter if none of this is equal, for instance. And gosh, I'm not worried about that at all. I'm just making sure that I've got a lovely neat corner here, because that's what you're going to see. So then we're coming to the other side, and literally, gosh, this glue is so amazing. It catches within a minute. So you need to work fairly fast with it. So again, just fold it over like you would if you were binding. And there's pictures on the pattern to show you. I put the glue on the angle there, and then I start to put the glue on the wood itself, and just go part way. So it gives you a little bit of room here to do your sticking and gluing. Bring that over, and again, make sure it's nice and tight. Make sure your creases are all beautifully and neat. And you will spend time doing this if you want to make sure that it's all looking gorgeous. And just push it down if it needs to. Like I say, it's almost instant. If you do want to peel it off, you can do that. It's not so bad that it doesn't peel off. But if you work at it, I mean, I'm obviously, for demonstration, I'm kind of going as quickly as I can so we can get it done within the hour. So don't forget, you want to fold that in as if you were going to do quilting, and put your glue on. I put the glue, as I say, on the angle there, and then just work your way along, work it in, and then just bring that up so you've got a lovely corner piece here. It's really important. And then before we get to this last bit, I want you just peel back, fold that in, and really this is all you're going to do for the fabric. This is exactly the same. So you've got a minute or two to work with the glue. Bring it up, pull it over, and stick it down. There we go. Beautiful. So that is all done. Lovely. And when you turn it over, you can see you've got a really lovely, tight, neat finish. And we'll just set that to one side for the moment. So now we come to the second one with the fabric. Again, we're just going to, and I'm using my basting spray, so we might as well glue this down. So again, just a little bit. Don't cover the whole thing. It just doesn't need it. And because you're covering it with the fabric anyway, then it's going to be held in place. It's not going to wriggle at all. Just beautiful. Now, like I say, you'll take your time with it and enjoy the process. And what you'll have at the end is the most fantastic homemade, handmade ironing station to take to workshops, to take to your friends, take to the caravan. I could take mine to the motorhome. A little bit of basting glue just to hold your layers together. Pop this over the top. There we go. Like I said, be careful not to stretch it, because wadding will stretch, and it's a bit like icing a cake. You're sort of pushing the wadding back onto itself to make sure it's not overhanging. And like I say, the easiest thing to do is to pop the whole thing down on a larger piece of wadding, and then use your big blade, and I'm talking the 60mm blade, because you've got the MDF to get around, and cut that way with the big blade. Yeah, and because you've got all of that space there. So that's now lovely and stuck. So let's get our fabric to cover that. And if you wanted to, you could spray, you could use your temporary spray again, just a little bit. You don't need a lot, just to hold your fabric in place. Make sure you've ironed it so all your wrinkles are out. Isn't it gorgeous? So bright and cheerful. Completely different from Halloween. If I bring in the Halloween one, which is really gorgeous, I love it. I've got spiders. Oh dear, and this is super because it's got witches' hats and cats and cauldrons, and it's non-directional, so it makes it even easier to use. But I love the beach huts. So flip it over. So we're going to do exactly the same, and it just could not be easier. I've given you all the dimensions of everything. I've told you what you need to cut, so it's just sitting down and enjoying the process. Now this time I'm going to have it so the fold is on the long side. It does not matter. You can do either or. Just make sure that all of this is, you can see I'm pushing it up so it's nice and neat along this edge here. And then we're just going to fold that under as if we were going to do, a lovely bit of binding. Pop a little bit of glue down. I'm just going to go so far. Bring that over, make sure that's lovely and flat there, and then just bring it over. Yeah, you can see how that's looking gorgeous. Bring this around and finish this off. You need the smallest amount. I keep saying that, but it's better for me to say a lot than say it once and you forget. So again, just make yourself a 45 degree. We're literally just tucking it in, and a little bit of glue there. I'm not going to go all the way up. and then bring this over. And it's a sort of glue, if you get it on your hand, it will just rub off. So it's not like super glue that, you know, is a bit tricky. This is just lovely to use. So just make your way round again, and there. So you're literally putting your finger in there, folding this around, so you've got a 45 degree. It's just repeating the same thing. The only thing I do is that little bit of glue on there. But to be perfectly honest, this is going to go underneath. So, you know, the gluing the whole thing down is going to hold it in place. And although this is not stitching, I was quite conscious of the fact that this is not stitching. It's still a very, very useful project for you. Very useful indeed. So with this end, because I glued right up to here, I could pull this back, but why would I want to? I'll just fold that in and bring that up. And like I said, just put a little dab of glue on there. See, I even use the lid. I'm so sparing with it. It's lovely. If you ever treat yourself to some, which I strongly recommend, you won't know how on earth you managed before, especially with projects like this. MDF, fabrics, absolutely perfect. So just give that a squidge, and there we are. Oh, isn't that absolutely gorgeous? I wish you could touch this because it's so soft and squidgy. So we've got our two pieces now. And of course, if you wanted to, you could, I mean, my fabric for my Halloween one isn't directional, so it doesn't matter when I open it up that this is on the right or if it's on the left. You can please yourself. But if it's directional fabric, which my next fabric is, just be aware of how you want this to sit on your fabric. Okay, so I'll just pop these two to one side. And now we come to the next bit, which is doing the back. Now, this is going to feel a little bit strange for you now because we do things a little bit differently. So I'm going to spray my wadding. And again, all the measurements are in the pattern guide, so you know how much you're cutting. So we're doing double layers of wadding again. I'm going to flip this around, and this is just to hold it in place. This is not doing anything technical. It's just keeping everything in its place while I'm working with it. Make sure that both layers are sitting on top of each other. And then I've got a piece of Decovil. Now, of course, you can see that Decovil has glue. So I'm not, to be honest, I'm not really using the glue. But if you wanted to, you could get your iron and you could glue that down. So if I was to bring my little iron in, it takes, with Decovil, this is Decovil Light. So even with Decovil Light or just plain Decovil, and actually it doesn't really matter which one you use. The Decovil, I think, is a little bit more sort of flexible. You don't really need to do this part. You do not need to glue this down. The Decovil is there just to give it the feeling of a book. It's going to give you an edge. You'll see as we go along what I mean. And it takes a little while to get the heat through the Decovil to the wadding. So I'm not going to spend much time on this because this is something that's a little bit unnecessary. But I thought, well, I might as well show you because it does have a layer of glue and you'll wonder why I'm not using it. So there we are. I've nearly glued that to the wadding. And that's an optional thing. You don't have to do that at all. So the next thing we need to do is to do exactly the same as we just did with the MDF. We're going to fold over our corners and we're going to create a really nice neat edge to our backing there. So we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to use the glue, the bookbinding glue, and again, and of course you could, if you wanted to, now I meant to say this before, you could, if you wanted to, use the glue side of your Decovil to actually glue this up. Okay, you could obviously use the glue to glue this up. So while this is folded up, you might want to use your silicone pins. Of course, you can get your iron on there. Just be careful because this would be glue as well. Just get your iron on there, and in fact, that's lovely. It's setting my glue beautifully. I'll keep it on. And so you can have the glue side this way up to put this, adhere this down on, and I will leave that for you to decide to do. But quite honestly, this bookbinding glue is so fabulous that I don't need to do that. I know this is going to work a treat. So we're doing exactly the same again. We're just going along, just a bigger piece, so you can see how easy it is. This is really a project that you're going to enjoy doing. You just need to tuck this end in here because now we're using fabric. It's slightly different. So, and we've got the wadding there as well. We haven't got the strong structure of the A4, so just be mindful that you don't want to pull it out of shape. Get yourself as good a point here as you can, and what you could do is get your stiletto tool and use the point of that to get that point just there beautiful. I mean, I'm happy with that. Just work your way round again. And we're just concentrating on making a really lovely, neat job. Don't forget, with this part, it's not such a strong edge here, so you are working the edge. I'm folding that again like I did before, and just popping a little bit of glue down. Just not much. You can see how little I'm using. It's just super. Must stop saying that. You'll think I'm obsessed with glue. But we don't use glue very often. We just don't in our sewing projects. But of course, this is kind of like a complementary project, isn't it, to our sewing? So just fold that over. Don't go mad. Just hold it down while it sets. In fact, like I said to you before, the iron does a super job of drying the glue, really. Just use a mat underneath. Don't catch it on your cutting mat here. That's done a cracking job. So we'll just continue on and just do this last corner here. This fabric is so sweet. It's actually a Liberty fabric. So I went to London with my friend Rosella, and we just felt we needed to get something, and I thought, well, I'll get some fat quarters. And these are made from fat quarters, so you know it's very, very, very cost effective. And if you treated yourself to the kit that John is putting together for you, then it is not an expensive project. And I know you can get these sort of things ready-made, but there's nothing quite like making your own, especially if you're going to a workshop and you know people are going to say, oh my goodness, I love your ironing station. Where did you get it? Because obviously it will look like it's been created, you know, by, I was going to say professional means, but we are professional guys, aren't we? You know, in a factory, basically. Where everything is cut by computer and goodness knows what. And the guys and gals that make these sort of things up every day, it's just what all they do, isn't it? They don't, they're kind of skilled in one sort of particular part of it. Whereas you, after today, will be skilled in all of it, and you can make your own and it will look gorgeous. Think of the fabrics you could use. I mean, I couldn't wait to use that Halloween fabric. I thought it was perfect for creating the ironing station. So I'm just using my iron just to really heat the glue. There we are. That's it. So that is our ironing station. Obviously, until we fold that and put the other A4 plates on there, it's not going to be very stable. You can see how it's working. But the one thing we do need to do is to find the center. Now there's two ways of doing that. You can pop this on here like that and pop that one on there like that. You want to make sure it's not upside down. I like the Luminex on the right, so let's get it the right way up. So put that one there, put that one there. So you should have an overhang of around about 1/4 inch. Okay, that's your overhang all around all the outsides. Okay, that's your approximate. I mean, it should be that, but you know, we're all prone to making a little adjustment here and there. So all we need to do is to create this bit that goes down the middle. Well, obviously I've already cut that out for you. It's just a strip. You've turned over each end. In fact, let me just get that ironed a bit better. Each end needs to be turned over by about 1/4 inch and ironed. You can top stitch it if you want. That can be your nod to sewing. And then all we're going to do is actually attach that to our backing. So if I just kind of put it like that and move these pieces away, we know that's pretty much in the centre. Just get it lined up. There we go. And because we've only folded over 1/4 inch, that should be perfectly positioned. And then while it's still lying flat, just get your glue and pop a little bit of glue down. I would put some glue on the edge where my fold is. You don't need a lot. Pop it down. There we go. It's a little bit wonky now. There we go. Come up a little bit. There we go. That's it. Get it positioned correctly, and then all we need to do is just put a little bit of glue, because the whole thing is going to be held together now with the A4 MDF pieces, but we need it to lie nice and straight. So I'm just popping glue right down the centre. Literally, that's all you need. You can see how little I'm using, and take that up, swing this around. We'll put some glue right along the edge there. Super. And then on here, just to make sure that that stays put. And make sure it's nice and tight. That's lovely. So there's our centre sort of spine really completed. Looks absolutely fabulous. So now all we need to do is to glue these down. Now this is where I would suggest you use just a little bit more than what we have been using, because this has got to stick. This has got to be perfect. And I would take the glue right up to the edges, so you can see what I'm doing. It doesn't need a lot still. You know, you don't have to really overload your brush. Or if you're using a spatula, certainly I prefer a spatula. But of course it's those occasions when of course you can't find it. So just take it up to the edge. Make sure you don't go on the sides. And just keep hold of it. And you have got time to do the whole piece. So don't worry about the glue drying out. It goes super duper tacky, but you do have time. Right along. There we are. I'm so enjoying this, I can't tell you. So enjoying it. And now I put a nice big blob in the centre. Okay, turn it over. You might get glue on your fingers at this stage, so be aware. If it's something you don't like the feel of, then obviously you're going to wear gloves. Okay, you're going to wear gloves. So hopefully we've got that straight. I think getting it here straight is best, but that is actually already taken. I think it probably could go up a bit, but I'm going to leave as is. And then same again. So I just like to make sure that the glue goes right up to the edge. And yeah, it's made. think of all those fabrics you've got, because it's a couple of fat quarters, that's all you need. 1 fat quarter for the outer and 1 fat quarter to do the this part here, the fabric ironing pad and the centre spine. And obviously you need your Luminex and your Decaville light, or you know, like a Pelmet lining. If you don't want to go for the kit, then a Pelmet lining would do. Have a look in your stash, see what you've got. But really, it's just super. And you probably have never seen a pattern for something like this before. Well, it's a project. I've got to call it a project because it's not really a pattern. So a nice big dollop in the centre. Okay, so now we've got to just make sure our beach huts are the right way round and just get it positioned correctly. And I'm just going to stand up and make sure that is sitting straight. Yes, I'm just checking. I have to see over the top just to make sure. Oh, it looks amazing. Now, of course, like I said to you before, if you didn't want to use, or you don't have to use all of this fabric. You just need to make sure that the edges are bound nice and neatly, because you could, if you wanted to, put that cutting mat there instead of your padded ironing mat. That's entirely up to you. Like I say, it was an extra that I thought you might be interested in knowing about. And like I say, that is now finished, ready to take to the next workshop. Folds up like that beautifully. Now what you want now is a really heavy book. You want a pile of books sitting on top of that. Let me show you from at the front. It's great, isn't it? A nice big pile of heavy books on that to get everything. So you don't want this springiness going on here. And how you stop that spring is by putting a heavy book on that now to make everything sit where it's supposed to sit. Because when you look at the one that I have had heavy books on, it doesn't spring, it sits nicely together. Okay, so I just love that fabric. So there we are. So that is oh so useful. And it is our ironing station ready to go. Absolutely gorgeous. And don't forget, make one for yourself, make one for a friend, make them for Christmas presents. For goodness sake, make them for your craft store, ladies and gents, because you'll make a fortune on these. You could sell them easily for £25. That's about $30. And people will love it, especially if you use something gorgeous like a Liberty fabric like I have done. So there is our oh so useful. It's a great project for October, ready for making for Christmas. If you're watching this in the spring, make it for Easter. At the end of the day, all I want you to do is have a go. Get your pot of glue out, get your fabrics, get your kit, or go and get yourself all your bits and pieces you need and create an oh so useful ironing station. Thank you so much for watching. It's been fun. Bye.